and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule on Triller is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by our Daniel LaRusso as he traversed through the 84 All-Karate, All-Valley Championships in Jiu Jitsu this past weekend.
You're a fool.
Mr. Mario Lopez.
Hey, thanks. But you know what? I didn't even get a text from you.
Yeah, I was on the chain. I congratulated you.
No, you didn't, you rap bastard.
But now
but that's all right. That's all right. We'll see if you ever decide to do any kind of sort of competition. I'm still a gentleman. I will congratulate you. But
I will say face to face, you're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
So stupid.
See, I did that to you face to
You're
face.
so stupid.
Anyway, we got a lot
How
to
do you
talk
have
about.
any friends other than me? Seriously.
I want to thank Tim Frazier for doing his part, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits. A lot to talk about. We'll begin Manchester, England this past Saturday on ESPN+. Hatfields and McCoys ended up like the Red Wedding of the Game of Thrones. Kell Brook, it was bloody and it was brutal. He just bludgeoned Amir Khan over 6 rounds.
Obviously, I would have loved to have seen this fight about 8 years ago. But even then, I called you during the fight. And you know why I appreciate Amir Khan? I can't think of a boring fight he's been in. Whether he's getting his ass kicked or not, he's never in a boring fight. And I like a fighter that no matter what, when he gets hit, he's going to answer. And he makes for exciting fights. And I can appreciate that. Yes, my guy, God bless him, was shot. And he was a spent bullet. And he still fought with valor and bravery. And obviously, it was just a matter of time before Kell Brook put him out of his misery, to be quite honest. And you can tell in the first round that, oh, this is going to be a short night. So, be that as it may, did he announce his official retirement?
Nobody should.
Yeah, and I think it's inevitable. I will look back and actually like Amir Khan because he fought with heart. I know he's, I believe, Pakistani, right? But homie fought like a Mexican because he gave it his all in every fight, and he was in exciting fights. And like I said, I don't think I've ever thought of a boring fight. Long in the tooth, that had been brewing, and Brook looked really well. By the way, I think I also mentioned to you, my guy just physically, I think, has like the best physique ever. Yeah. In boxing, just put together, nice tone and everything. It just really, really looks good. And I think back, and I think at one point he was the best welterweight in the world. I think it's safe to say. And we were both at the fight when he fought Sean Porter. But I also think about the Triple G fight because I know how he probably justified it. Like, look, I'm not a natural middleweight. If I lose, oh, hey, I'm really a welterweight, but it'll be a nice payday. But I think it came at a heavy cost because I think, didn't he break his orbital bone?
A right orbital bone.
Oh, God. So is it worth getting your face literally broken? I'm going to say no because I think it shortened his career.
Shortened his prime because he went in one way, went out the other.
Well, in essence, shortened his career, right? So, and then he was never really the same, and I think it ended up costing him more, not just physically, but financially. So that was a gamble that I don't think was worth it. I know where his mind was at and was justified it, but I don't think was worth it. With that said, he was still able to bounce back nicely, and I think still have a very decent career. But I wish if he could reverse time, could maybe rethink not taking on Triple G right at the peak of his powers.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not Cher. Can't turn back time. And
that was good. That was good.
If you look at Kell Brook, his 3 losses: Golovkin, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Amazing. And what the thing was, he went from 147 to 160, where he still looked very physically stout. He went all the way back to 47 to fight an undefeated young Errol Spence. That's
and listen, usually when a guy goes up in weight and comes back down, he's never really the same because of the weight itself. But this one, he suffered a broken orbital, like you said, and he still looked pretty decent considering not the same fighter that he was. But I too will look back fondly on Kell Brook, but always wonder what if.
What could have been, what should have been, what wasn't.
Exactly.
As for Amir Khan, he was that sports car with no brakes and shaky handling. Always ran into punches. He was literally hurt every round of this fight.
Yeah.
To me, his legs have never been great. Punch resistance was very low, but on this fight, as I wrote for Snack.com, he looked like Bambi on Quaaludes. His just legs were not there, and I wouldn't even let him spar again if I'm one of his loved one or his handlers. Enough is enough.
Yes, agreed.
Later that night, Saturday, from TJ on The Zone, Jaime Munguia does what he was supposed to. Fed his kids, got a job, stayed out of jail by stopping Demetrius Ballard in 3. Again, did what he was supposed to. Now the WBO has said to Top-ranking Golden Boy, you got 10 days to negotiate a fight with Janabek Alamkunali, who is managed by Aegis Climax, who came in with us a couple weeks ago. I think it's a real fight. My understanding is Eric Gomez reached out to Top Rank. There's mutual interest. Bring it on.
Well, let's talk about the event first, and I think that's what it was an event. It was a nice, lively crowd. I think a little over 10,000 at the Bull Ring right there in Tijuana, where it was abnormally cold. A lot of people were telling me. You even saw a blanket go over Ballard in between rounds. But prior to that, we were both talking about Munguia at the scales, where there were rumors that he fainted.
He looked terrible.
Yeah, he didn't. He's a big kid to make that weight, and. By the way, I know all about that, and we'll get into the jiu-jitsu thing because we're about the same size, and then it sucks. So, and then it was interesting to hear in his post-fight interview, he tried to squash that rumor about that he didn't faint. However, he didn't look great still physically in his. So I can't believe he once made 154.
I think one of his quotes was, "I was only laying down to rest during one of the interviews afterwards." How many times have you done it before? I mean, give me a break.
No, he's a big kid. He squeezes himself down to 160. Who knows if he starves himself? There's smart ways to get down there, but he made it a point to point that out. As far as the event itself, again, I love that they're thinking out of the box. I love new locations and not just stale casinos. The Bull Ring was fun. A lot of people that went there said they had a great time. It was a lively crowd. It was his hometown, obviously. Had I not been competing myself, I was planning on actually going down there. And I like Munguia. We were at his last fight, and I think he's a budding star. I think he's come a long way with Morales. He was a little more composed. At first, I kept looking to see if I could tell there was a difference with him being sapped with strength because of the weight cut. And then he was just being a much more patient fighter. And when he let his hands go, man, he could pop.
He's getting better.
He's getting better. Look, he's still a little flat-footed. He is who he is. He's got some heavy hands, big, tough kid. I think he's a tough out, and I think he's ready to go to that next level. Ballard, I thought, for the most part, he looked good for a while it lasted, and then it didn't. So, tip of the hat to him to take on that tough task. But yes, Munguia is ready for the next level.
He's 39-0, 31 knockouts. He's been a world champion before. He's had 5 or 6 fights with Morales. Sometimes less is more, more measured. I think he thinks about things a little bit more ahead. It's not just throw 1,000 punches. Hopefully you land a couple of them. There's actually a rhyme and a reason, a method to the madness. Let's roll the dice. Let's see what this kid had. He is now, I believe, right in his mid-20s. He's in his physical prime. Let's make some fights. Moving on, fight preview this weekend. Busy schedule of boxing. We'll talk about this later with our upcoming guest from Glasgow, Scotland. Josh Taylor takes on his mandatory challenger, Jack Catterall. Then it's showtime from Las Vegas. Chris Colbert headlines against Hector Garcia. Then Sunday afternoon from London, England on The Zone. WBO Cruiserweight Champion Lawrence Okolie takes on Michael Chislak. One thing here before we move on, news and notes. March 19th, me and you don't have a problem now. We're going to be at the Galen Center. We're going to fight on the campus of USC to see Virgil Ortiz because Brian Castano injured his bicep about 2 weeks ago. His rematch, March 19th with Jermel Charlo, scratched.
Man, I'm bummed about, I'm bummed because
are you really
here's
bummed?
the thing. I'm bummed
really
because I didn't like that. Obviously, both fights were on the same day, but I'm bummed that he got injured with coincidentally an injury I'm familiar with too. Do we know the severity of it? Did he tear his bicep?
They're talking about April or May.
No. Do we know the severity of his bicep?
Not really.
Injury?
They didn't share the X-rays with me for some reason.
So that one I was actually really looking forward to because I actually thought he won that first fight. You did too, right?
Yes.
So I thought he won, and I thought he momentum would be carrying his way, and I was looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, we're gonna have to wait. But now that day is free to have Virgil Ortiz be allowed to shine. He's another one that I think is ready to go to the next level. So assuming he has a strong performance, both he and Munguia, and I think those are the two budding stars right there with Golden Boy, they're ready for shots at the title.
One thing about Castano, these guys that fight once or twice a year, many of these injuries, I never saw them 20 years ago when guys were more active. I'm going to say it again. Fighters are better off fighting more, training less. I think they get worn down in the gym, and you also add the weight loss.
Of course.
And the fact that they, I think, over-spar. Carl Frampton had some interesting views on that. I just spoke to a recent trainer that has a good young fighter, says, Steve, I'm cutting down all my sparring. Because I've noticed one thing. My fighters look a lot better in camp than in fights.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things.
You can leave it in the gym.
Right. So Brian Castano, we'll see what happens. I'm being told that it looks 99.9% sure that PBC will move off of March 19th. I just don't see how you replace that co-main because he's the one with the belt.
Sure.
So anyway, when we come back, we have a very special guest, Bob Arum, the head of Top Rank. All right, we're back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. Steve Kim, Mario Lopez. And Lopez, we have a very special guest, a guy that's joined us before.
I'm not going to make any secrets about it. My all-time favorite guest.
Oh, really?
Yes. I just think he's the most knowledgeable and talented guy in this space and has been around for decades now covering it. So I just think it's an honor that we have the opportunity to have him on our show. And of course, I'm talking about Mr. Bob Arum. How are you, sir?
Good, Mario. Certainly the oldest, right?
And most charming. So, Bob, lots to talk about. This Saturday, Josh Taylor, who, by the way, can I just say is one of my favorite fighters in the game right now. I feel he's incredibly underrated. I feel he's definitely on this pound for pound list, be it mythical or not. And I'm looking forward to seeing him fight. And he's fighting on ESPN Plus. What is the plan for him for 2022, and will he be finally moving up to welterweight?
Well, again, I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with Josh here in Las Vegas. My whole crew is over in Glasgow for his fight on Saturday. And after that fight, assuming he wins, he has talked to me about the possibility of going up to welterweight. Mm. And one of the guys he's mentioned is Crawford, and that would be an interesting fight, particularly for the UK.
I love that fight. And as I told Kim, I'm on record, I honestly think it's like a 50-50, maybe 60-40 fight favoring Crawford, but I think Taylor is a real live dog in that fight.
Yeah, and Bob, given the situation, the legal situation, I know you can't really delve into the Crawford situation, but given that situation and where you stand with your former client, how realistic is that fight?
I mean, all that stuff is nonsense. It won't affect making a fight if both fighters want to fight and the purses are reasonable. So all of that stuff, just put aside. It's just a lot of noise.
Put it aside, Kim.
Okay. Bob, taking a look at Josh Taylor, I'm with Mario. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. I know there's been the COVID situation. There's been some injuries. He hasn't been that active in the last 3-4 years. Is there a plan in place, regardless of who he fights, to make sure he's busier in 2022?
Yeah, but again, that depends on Josh. He's the kind of guy that's content with fighting maybe twice a year rather than 3 or 4 times. And again, you understand, these fighters are all young. And to fight 4 times a year sounds great, but it means giving up a lot of their life during a fun period of their life when they're in their 20s and so forth. Some of them don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, long gone are the days of when you were promoting Oscar De La Hoya, and I remember he was fighting 5 times a year, sometimes championship fights, and that wasn't that long ago. I gotta imagine he kills himself.
That was Oscar. Oscar wanted that role. He was never happier. He had some troubles outside the ring, as we know, and he was never happier than when he was in the ring participating in a fight. I mean, it depends on the guy.
It really is about the individual. You're exactly right. Does Josh, Bob, does he killing him? I can't believe he can make 140. I mean, obviously he's fighting that this week, but has he been struggling with that for a while now? Do you know? Because I feel maybe if he's not killing himself with the weight, he might want to be more active. He's not killing himself as much.
He's not. He apparently has no problems with 140.
Wow. Because he's a big guy.
No problems with 140. Yeah, he's a big guy, but you see his frame. He's rather slender. So again, all I can do is report what he and his manager have told me.
Sure.
Bob, looking ahead, Dillian Whyte has signed his contract. April 23rd, he'll be taking on the heavyweight champion of the world on the Tyson Fury. Bob, are you going to have to pay a daily stipend for these press conferences for Dillian Whyte to show up and actually promote his event? Where do things stand on that?
Well, He'll either participate in the promotion or he won't. Now, if he participates in the promotion, we'll do the promotion the normal way. Now, if he doesn't participate, we'll make hay out of that. And that'll be a promotion in itself. So, it's his choice. I mean, I don't care. Do you care if Dylan White shows up or doesn't show up for a particular press conference? Doesn't mean anything. I got in Tyson Fury, one of the not only one of the world's great fighters, but one of the great entertainers. I mean, you see how he performed at my 90th birthday party at Madison Square Garden.
You're exactly right.
The guy's amazing.
I love him. Elvis doesn't need an opening act, Kimster. I'm just curious, Bob, can a pay-per-view that is held hypothetically in the UK be as successful as opposed to America?
Of course not. Of course not. And the difference in time. But the US pay-per-view will be the tail of the promotion. So we need it. We're going to do some revenue, closed circuit here. We'll do revenue here. But the big money is going to be coming from the UK. UK has for example, they're predicting that we will do full up Wembley, which is 90,000 people.
Wow.
And we'll do over 1 million homes on pay-per-view in the UK. So what we do in the US is important, but it's gravy. You understand?
Yes.
In other words, will it do 500,000-600,000 homes in the US? Not likely. But if it does 300,000 homes, that's pretty good added income.
Sure,
That's good gravy. That's good gravy. So, Bob, is it a given that should Tyson Fury come out victorious as expected against Dillian White on April 23rd, that he fights the winner of the Joshua Usyk fight, that rematch later in 22?
If that fight happens, because I have no control over that fight. Joshua has the right for a rematch, but it's time sensitive. So unless he really exercises it soon, Usyk is going to go on and fight somebody else, which could be Tyson Fury, again, and then Joshua can opt to fight, hope that Fury wins, and opt to fight Fury in a massive fight in the UK. I think Joshua's in a hard place here. The hard place is that the style of Usyk and the way Usyk can box and so forth really is very, very difficult for Joshua to counter. So the idea that Joshua is going to come in and beat Usyk, I think is very doubtful. And I think Joshua knows that it's doubtful.
Definitely a daunting task. April 30th, junior lightweight unification bout between Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Very excited about that. Bob, your thoughts on that particular fight?
Terrific fight. Really, really fight. Shakur is a wonderful defensive fighter who's now developing a little pop, as he showed with Jamal Herring. And Oscar Valdez, who seems, when he gets a really big challenge, like he did
Berchelt,
rises to the occasion. I throw out his last fight because all the accusations of drug use, which were so unfair, I think really played on Oscar's psyche. But Oscar wanted the fight with Shakur. I think it's going to be a tremendous, tremendous battle. And I'm confident that it'll sell out the MGM Grand because our geniuses at ESPN have put it right in connection with draft week. The NFL draft, which will be held in Las Vegas, is that with Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And people don't realize that in normal cities that have the draft, there's hundreds of thousands. For the draft in Las Vegas, they're estimating as many as 1 million people coming in just to participate in the draft.
Wow.
A small percentage of those people will, we believe, buy tickets to the fight. Just the way when Fury fought Wilder, we were in a little bit of a panic the last time they fought because because of the travel ban, we couldn't get any Brits. Brits for the second fight they did, about 5,000 Brits were in the audience. As you recall, the last fight they did, Wilder and Fury, there were no Brits there virtually none, because of the travel ban.
Sure.
What saved us was that the Raiders were playing at home the next day against the Chicago Bears. And there were about 20, 30,000 fans of the Chicago Bears in town. And they hit that box office like it was a tackling dummy and bought up all the tickets that we hadn't sold. So, for myself as a boxing promoter, the fact that the Raiders are in Las Vegas and that the NFL is firmly in Las Vegas is a major, major plus.
Awesome.
The Bears. And Bob, how close are we to getting this over the finish line, the light heavyweight unification bout between Artur Beterbiev and Joe Smith?
I don't know if there's any issues. I think it's ready to be announced when they.
Nice. And Bob, do you have a location set or in mind?
That's where that's the best place for it, and it'll be in June, and it can't be earlier because Beterbiev is a very Orthodox Muslim.
Oh.
And the month of April.
Sure, Ramadan.
Because of Ramadan.
Right.
He can't really train because he's not eating, so he's going to need May and probably the end of June, I think, for that fight.
Oh, I didn't know that about Beterbiev. He's like a Khabib.
Yes, he is. Very, very, he adheres to it to letter of the law.
He's a Chechnya, yeah.
Oh, I respect that. Yeah. Well, then he's a disciplined guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to training and what have you then.
And Bob, another fight that I believe is going to be on the top ranked schedule. I know you've been working on it through Ohashi and Mr. Honda. How close are we with the Inoue Nonito Donaire rematch?
I think that's really close. Everything depends on not Donaire or not Inoue or not Ohashi or Honda, but on the Japanese government lifting the restrictions on events and so forth. But from what we understand, April will be an all clear.
Wow. Exciting times right now.
Yeah, well, the world is opening up.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, I just love my wife Lovey and I went to London a week ago, and that was the first time we had been out of the country in 2 years, when we had been traveling every 6 weeks.
Right. Oh, and I know that's so refreshing to hear. Bob, one last question. As far as fighters are concerned right now, Teofimo Lopez, where do things stand with him in your eyes? And is he making the move officially to junior welter?
Well, he's certainly not going to be lightweight. He can't make lightweight. I was with Teofimo, with Dr. Elatrosh this week. He's got spurs in his elbow. And the procedure will take place on Friday to remove those spurs, and he'll be ready to go, according to the Super Bowl doctor, Neil Elitraz, because he's the doctor for the Rams.
Sure, he's the man.
He'll be ready to go, will Teofimo, the end of May.
Oh, great to hear. Any truth to the rumors that he may be training with the Reynoso camp?
He said that to me as a possibility. I don't know how realistic it is, but if he picks Eddie Reynoso as his main trainer, he's picking the best. So it would be a move that I would applaud, that I would encourage him. But again, I don't know how realistic it is.
Bob, what is the relationship right now? What is the tenor of it between Teofimo and Top Rank, given everything that has happened the last 13 to 14 months after that victory over Lomachenko?
Oh, it was close. You got to understand. And it became close when he realized that this, what do they call it? What's that crazy company?
Triller.
Yeah. When he realized that was quicksand, he made peace with us, and sincerely. And he came, I remember, we were doing a fight, and he came over to my house that morning and signed a long-term contract, new long-term contract with us. And that evening, I could have killed him. He contacted COVID to get tested and all that stuff. And so you remember that postponement that they had to take when he got COVID. So again, he's firmly in our camp, and we love Teofimo, and we're going to take good care of him.
Bob, final question from me. We're about almost a year anniversary from the unfortunate, untimely passing of marvelous Marvin Hagler, one of your favorite people of all time. What are your fondest memories of him?
Well, I think my fondest memory of Marvin was when Goody Petronelli, late Goody Petronelli, Pat Petronelli, his manager, Goody was the trainer. Pat, his girlfriend, and myself drove through the fog from Boston to New Hampshire, where Marvin had a house. And the idea would be that Pat was trying to talk Marvin into taking the fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, which he didn't want to fight anymore. He didn't want to take that fight. So Pat says, let me go talk to him. So I remember they had a table outside, Pat and Marvin. And suddenly Marvin is hitting his hand on the table like he's really angry. And so when Pat came back to the car, I said, Pat, what the hell was that all about? He said, look at Marvin is being Marvin. He said to me, I don't know if I want to fight this guy, because Pat said, if you fight him, Goody and I will take less of a percentage of your purse. He said, I don't know if I'm going to fight him, but if I fight him, you're going to take every penny you're supposed to take. That was Marvin Hagler.
Man, class act, one of a kind. Love.
They don't make him like him anymore.
They don't. I don't make him like Bob Arum anymore
they don't.
either. I so appreciate your time, sir, and I could listen to you all day, and we love these stories. So we really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Please come back, hopefully soon.
Plus Saturday morning, and in addition to Josh Taylor's fight, ESPN Plus will be carrying from Glasgow the Olympian that we have, the two-time Olympian, Robeisy,
Robeisy Ramirez, the Cuban.
Yeah, he'll be fighting some English guy, and there's a great fighter I hope gets on the air named Paddy Donovan, who's great. Who wins that fight, we'll bring him to Madison Square Garden for our March 19th St. Patrick's Day fight. So, it's exciting. Every seat is been sold for 6 weeks in Glasgow. Josh is a huge attraction there. as he is in around the UK. So that's why I say that if he's successful and he really wants to go up to 147, we would arrange a Crawford fight for over there. It would do tremendous business.
All right, Bob, as
that
always,
happens.
thank you for your time. We'll be back on the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. We wrap it up with Final Flurries. All right, now we move on to Final Flurries. I want to thank Mr. Arum for his time. Always a fountain of information, very outspoken. But Mario, I got to give you credit. You are the man in the arena. You got down to battle, and you took home the gold. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that coming from the Korean Kosel. Keeps it
I
real.
just call it like it is.
So my son asked me to do this tournament with him, and I said yes, like an idiot, because I got a lot on my plate. And then finally, you know, I was training, and finally the time came around. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go do this. And the reason I wanted to do it was not only just like a memory. I figured it'd be kind of priceless to compete with your son. He'll appreciate it a lot more when he gets older. But I thought, okay, it's going to be fair. It's going to be guys in my division, right? The 45 to 50 division, they call it the Masters, right? The Masters 1, 2, 3, 4. They got dudes all the way in their 70s competing. And it'd be my belt rank, so blue belt. Long story short, nobody had signed up for that particular division, so I had to go 10 years younger.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I didn't train to not compete. So I went 10 years younger, signed up, ended up doing pretty well, man. I didn't get a point scored against me. And so, you know, here's the
You
thing,
went
though.
Oral Hershiser in 88, just
went
one
Oral
shutout
Hershiser.
after
Hey,
another.
very good reference. And so, yeah, I mean, I was trying. It's funny because it was. So I got there early for my son. Remember, you have to weigh in right before you.
And with the gi.
With the gi, which is like 4 pounds, sometimes 4 point something pounds, right? And I had to make 168, so I had to really come in a little under 64.
And that's day of morning of.
Yeah, dude, and I started getting stressed out. So long story, I stressed myself out. I ended up weighing in like 2.5, almost 3 pounds under. So I was coming in like 160. So I get there early. My son weighs in, he does his deal, and then he's got tough kids. This is his first jiu-jitsu tournament. Dude, he does well. He's smashing these kids. He's doing really well. And by the time I finished seeing him compete in all his matches and it was time for me to get ready, I felt exhausted. Just because, you know, you're living vicariously through your kid and then the anxiety and stuff, you're like drained. You're screaming, you're there, you're kind of, you know what I mean? The excitement, you're kind of drained. I was like, oh shit, I didn't factor this in.
Yeah.
So my legs didn't feel, and I was kind of like in my head a little bit. And a lot of people were there. And every time when I was getting ready, everybody whipped out the camera phone. I'm sure they wanted to see me, you know, either get my ass kicked or just like, just to get it documented, right? So then, when I finally stepped on the mat and the first time, it was a little surreal. But once I grabbed the gi and I just kind of started snapping down, and I kind of woke up, and then I did what I had to do, and ended up beating my guys, man. Ended up taking the gold, but it was a fun experience. I think I'm gonna do 2 more before I take a chill.
Oh my gosh, I'm about to ask you. You're not just gonna
Well, the
walk
only reason-
away on top.
Well,
The
that's what
great
I-
ones never walk away on top.
Well, here's the thing. I only got 2. I want to do 2 more because I figure it's like a win. I got a lot of love from like all over the community and all this stuff, right? Because here was my whole message, and I talked about it. I said, listen, you're never too old to challenge yourself or to set goals. I'm almost 50, you know, competing with dudes younger than me and in the gym even a lot younger than that. And there's no reason why we should just stop just because we get older. I feel good, although I'm a little sore with my knees. That's the thing. You don't want your body to betray you. But I just, you know, other people out there, you're never too old to want to challenge yourself or to set goals. And if you have the opportunity to do something special with like your kids, you should take advantage of it because I think they'll never forget it. Or at least I'm hoping that's the case later on. So I got 2 more. I want to do the Open, the LA Open, and then the Worlds later on. And those better be dudes my age because that's just a fair. That's the fair. You know what I mean? It's a fair fight that way. So we'll see. But thank you for the kind words.
All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits, goodbye, everybody.